Welcome back to another episode or another conversation with on our series. This is my second series, okay? So, of what's your I Can Realize Your I Can Purpose, Business, and Family is centered around my newly released book, but our conversation is going to go a little bit deeper than just the book. So, if you have not read the book and shared your thoughts, please get the book so that you can be a part of the conversation. Now, listen, I have an amazing guest with me on today. I'm pretty freaking excited. He is from Seattle and has experienced, some time traveling in different areas, cities, and states. One of the places that I'm looking forward to living is Denver. And we had some time before the show to kind of, kick back and chat it up and to really, get the feel of your I can, our I can, wherever we are. So I'm going to allow this space. You all know me. If you don't know me, my name is, of course, Christy Angeli, the successful title single mom, transformative speaker, biblical business growth strategist, personal chef, and author, right? So I have a lot of hats that I do wear. I wear them with, grace, mercy, and a whole lot of love for all that I am empowering through my journey of empowering single moms to transform their life and become the single moms that they desire to be. So, with all of that said, I am going to allow my guest the honor to introduce himself, fill us in with everything that he has, what he does in his community, and how, we're just going to jump right into the topic after that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Christy, I feel motivated just from your energy. So like the energy bouncing off over here is absolutely great. And I think I met my match because I'm usually the one that has all the energy. Now I have to step my game up, but Christy, thank you for
Come
the
on with it.
opportunity. Hey, let's do this. Let's have a little bit of fun here. But no, honestly, it's really a pleasure to be here today. Again, my name is Geoff Long. We're going to be talking about Lean Six Sigma, which is one of my favorite topics to discuss. I have my black belt certification, and we could talk about the different levels that it takes a little bit later. But yeah, MBA in marketing, worked for Amazon, worked for Pepsi, worked for Ryder, worked in a lot of different avenues within operations and logistics. So I have a lot of insight and firsthand, I guess, experience when it comes to identifying bottlenecks and inefficiencies and improving your operation. So definitely looking forward to getting into this conversation or topic.
Yes. So didn't I not tell you that I had an amazing guest on today? He is loaded with gems, wisdom, anything practical tips. I feel like he is going to really help us to understand even more what's your I can, no matter where you are in your life, especially in the business, right? In corporate in America,
Right.
and also, he's probably had some challenges in the community and seeing how people, as you phrased it, bottlenecked and all of these things, and overcoming, different stereotypes, overcoming different setbacks and hurdles. And so my first question to you is, what's your I can, realize your I can in purpose, business, and family to you?
That's a very good question. I think my I can is just predicting or having the insight to identify downtrends within business. And I think that's really what has kind of gotten me even here today as we have the discussion. And I think specifically with the minority-owned businesses that go out of business within the first 6 months. So I just think it's really just being able to have those instincts and using my experience to be able to help other operations kind of improve their sustained efforts, if that makes sense.
It does. So can you elaborate a little bit more on how do you discern, I want to use that word, downtrends? What
Right.
are some
Yeah.
keys? Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that for everything is about data and analytics. And so I think it's really important to be able to identify what are the key performance indicators or KPIs that are pertinent to your operation, right? So if you're within the delivery industry, right? Delivery times, route compliance or route optimization, fuel costs, those type of things really can kind of help you identify any particular downtrends in the performance. But again, there's a slew of different key KPIs in each industry that I think every business professional should know at the back of their hand.
Mm. Okay, so when you're going, so do you actually go into the businesses or small businesses and help them to, um, perf- change their performance? So
Yeah.
tell us a
So
little bit about that, and then your exactly Lean Six.
yeah. So essentially, what I do is that when I focus on small to medium sized companies with at least 1,000 employees or less, right? Just for an individual such as myself, that's a little bit more manageable from a scalability level. But essentially, I come in and I ask them, what are the problems that they're seeing, right? What type of data or what type of tools are they using? And then I kind of work backwards from there. Within Lean Six Sigma, it teaches you different methods to be able to form your own data subsets to make quantifiable conclusions, right? You think about the restaurant, for instance. That restaurant's open for 6 months. They think that everything is popular, but they never take a time to do a survey to ask their employees or to ask their employees or to ask their guests, what did you think of the food? What did you think of the service? What did you think of the menu? Then you can have a variable group of data to kind of make a determination as to whether certain aspects of your restaurant are working or not. So those are the things that Lean Six Sigma kind of teach you. Is really just kind of asking you the thought jogging questions and how whether what that baseline looks like as far as success. If that makes sense.
It makes a whole lot of sense. So you're talking about, I'm a question person. Okay. I will say it, not a question person. That's the wrong term to use. I am an inquisitive person, right? And so when I am looking into what you're talking on, making sure that you have the right data, understanding how your business is growing or what's going on in your business in order for you to improve and make a turnaround in your profits and all those good things, right? And so, what are some questions that you see that people are not really asking themselves, right, in their business? What is some of the, or their, I'm gonna ask that one first. What are some of the questions you see that people are not, businesses are not asking?
How is your product or service solving a problem for your business or for other people, right? Sales, marketing, business, any type of product that you sell needs to be able to solve a fundamental problem to the extent that someone's willing to pay for it. A lot of people have great business ideas, but they don't think about the business strategy. They don't do the market research to really understand as to if this product is viable for the marketplace, right? It's barriers to entry that they talk about, right? What are the barriers that are going to prevent you from being able to get into the industry and for you to be able to have the type of market share needed to be successful? Then I also think about the second question is what are you doing to elevate your brand or to be able to elevate your product? The product that you have in its infancy stages cannot be the same 3 or 4 years from now because evolution is also part of business. But then lastly, how is your operation running? Do you have standard work? Do you have standard operating procedures? Do you have these things on where people are being onboarded into your organization? They're starting off on the right foot. So I think those are really just kind of like the three key questions that kind of give me an insight as far as like the type of business persons or person that I'm working with.
Right. So are you having to come against any limiting beliefs in that corporation, in that business? Like, what are some of the toughest things that you have to, before you can even get on the side of helping them to see that these are the questions? What are some of the, challenges beforehand that you're fighting against with individuals themselves?
Well, I think the first thing is it's just the resistance to change by people. And then
Okay.
secondly, if you're a consultant coming into their business, clearly they understand there's a problem. So just the cooperation among others because they feel that their job might potentially be at risk if they give too much information, right?
Hmm.
So it's advocating for the company, advocating for people's jobs at the same time. But I think that from a systems integration perspective, people who have been used to using the same type of software and then they have to change, then their performance or their synergy in the job might change because their flow is messed up because they're learning a whole new system. So I think
Hmm.
that really those are just kind of the things, people and then system upgrades.
Hmm. And so in my book, I talk about this one section I have is called blurred vision. Okay, the inability to see clearly, maybe because you've had some type of trauma that has happened to you and that has impaired your ability to see, or maybe you've had some type of just eyes itself, genetics. Sometimes people wear glasses just because of genetics, and it really doesn't have to do with any type of trauma. And so understanding how to regain your sight is very key. So what you do seems like you help people regain their sight, understanding their I can, their purpose, understanding how to realize if you have asked the right questions, having, your KPIs in place, and you talked about your SOPs as well,
Correct.
and so this sounds like what you do to help people, have 2020 vision in their business. You want to
Exactly.
elaborate on that a little bit
Yeah,
more?
yeah, yeah. I think that sometimes, again, like when you have a business idea, when you're getting in the day to day, when you're a small business owner, you're playing a bunch of different hats. You're playing the project owner, you might play the program manager, you might be the product owner, you might be the CEO, you're wearing a bunch of different hats. And so there are two things that matter when coming to your business. That's the high level strategic vision as far as where you want to go, 1, 2, or 3 years. But then there's the day to day execution that allows you to be able to reach those long term goals, right? So sometimes when you're a small business owner, we think so high level that we lose track of that the minute we're getting so focused in the day-to-day grind, right? Whether that's payroll, whether that's meeting certain sales objectives. So it's really just making sure that we still have the high level goals that we want to accomplish, but we
Mhm.
have the steps, the action plan, or the playbook that allows you to achieve your key KPIs every single day.
Amazing. Okay, so we're going to take a little, detour from the business aspect of everything, okay? And we're going to talk about your family aspect. I know that you are married, and I don't know if you have any children, but how does this play a role in your as a husband, as a male, as a, provider?
Yeah, I think that everything what it comes down to is basics and foundations, right? I'm a big sports guy. So I'm being a sports guy and playing sports, although I wasn't that good at it. When you played basketball, there was a way to shoot a free throw. And I remember when I was terrible at free throws, but I always had to go back to your follow through, your arc. How do you keep your arm in? How do you keep your shoulders face to the basket, right? It's all of that in repetition. So I kind of see the same thing is in a marriage. Is that what is our playbook for when we're facing different challenges, right? And really focusing on that playbook, whether if it's spiritual or whether if it's economical, we know what we need to do because without a plan, there's no action.
Mhm. Without a plan, there is no action. My mom always said prior preparations prevents poor performance. That's a lot of P's, okay? You can't say that really fast. That's a lot. But
Right,
prior
right.
preparation prevent poor performance. And if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And a lot of people, unintentionally plan to fail by having no plans at all.
Yeah, yeah.
How true is that in your community?
I mean, I think it's very, very. It hits home. Hits home with fraternity brothers, whether we're planning events or whether we're, just even trying to plan a cookout with family.
Mm,
Like you just can't, you gotta figure out, okay, how many people are coming? What's the
mhm,
list? Who's getting what's the budget? Like these are things that you have to do on the back end to have success. It's like you look at quarterbacks, the amount of preparation, you could see the quarterbacks that are successful versus not. Like talent talent works, but hard work outperforms talent, if that makes sense.
it does. It really does. Talent works, but hard work outperforms talent because you
Yeah,
can have some really lazy, talented, unproductive people, and they pretty
exactly.
much, just want to go off of their talents. Well, I got the talents, they need me, sort of,
Right.
mentality,
Exactly. Exactly.
instead of putting in the actual work to better your skills. They say it takes a 10,000 hours to become an expert, to become someone that is, Malcolm Gladwell in his book, the outliners. He talks about the hours that you put in order for you to become the expert in the field that you want to be the expert in. So you are, you have this amazing program. Is it a program, or what you do to help, build your community, to help change the status quo. How are you doing that? How did you come up with this, Lean Six?
Well, so Lean Six Sigma is a process that was created by Toyota back in the mid to late 90s or late 80s. So
Okay.
it's a process methodology that focuses on the limiting defects within a process to where it becomes so finite that any defect that you have is so rare because you have a lean operation. There are six different dimensions within Lean Six Sigma, and the six really talks about one defect per, I believe, million life cycles, if that makes sense. That's how small the the goal is when it comes to it's like 0.0001%. But I think for me, the reason why I apply it to small businesses is because it focuses on continued improvement, right? One of the things they talk about is cyclic, which is suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, customers, right? Who's supplying the service? From a tech perspective, what are your inputs? What's the process itself? And then what are your outcomes? Those are the
Mhm.
things that people need to really be asking themselves when they're kind of going through their business ideas.
Amazing. And so have you seen in small business, is that your area of where you're working with, right? I heard you
Yes.
say that. Okay. And
Yeah.
so how long does it normally take for a small business to see a major turnaround when you're working with them?
Well, it really depends on this. It really depends on the issue, right? Say for
Mhm.
surveys, if you're looking to improve your customer service score and say your customer service on average is at 65%, right? If you're doing if you're doing a data sample like every week, out of those 100 people that you survey, you obviously would maybe want to go from 67% to 70, from 70 to 75. You want to see some type of incremental improvement. That's why the data sets are important. And then
Mhm.
also it's important to understand the parameters as to which the type of growth that you want to go on, right? If it's a
Mhm.
small sample size, you could see large improvement. If it's a larger sample size, as far as large data sets, the improvement might be marginal, but as long as you're moving forward and sustaining it, then you're successful.
So what would you say to smaller, entrepreneurs that are, I'm already talking about small business, but entrepreneurs just now starting out? What would be some of your, some wisdom, some gems, some nuggets that you can give that can already get them, ahead of the game, I would say?
I would say first do a business plan. There's a lot of people that tell you don't need one, but you definitely do. And then do your market research. Understand the barriers to entry. There's a lot of different businesses out there that have great ideas, but they don't
Yeah.
ask themselves how can they scale their operation? How much financial capital do I need to be able to expand? And then also coming up with a like just an ultimate like target goal, whether if it's customers or revenue, and stick to that.
So, okay, sticking to it, don't lose in focus. Listen, I want to say as well is not being double-minded, being
Right.
sure of your goals, being sure of your plans, being sure of what you are, your market research and all those things, that you have the information that you need to move ahead, right? And making sure your business plan, like you said, is on point, but not being double-minded. Staying focused on your goals and your dreams and what you are wanting to put into your community. Having a goal, not just for your business, but also for the community and what you want to, how you want it to look, how you want your
Right.
society to look, with your business in it. What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. No, I think that's real, but I also want to add that anything that you're going to try, you're going to fail at some point.
Hmm.
Right. So embrace the failure because
Hmm.
I feel like some of my greatest successes have come from my failures because I've learned from them and I've gotten better. Right. Anything you're going to try, you're going to fail at some point. So it's just, again, to your point, Christy, is being confident in that plan, but knowing that, okay, if I hit a couple bumps, right, I know I can get back on my feet because I'm going to stick to the plan.
Right. Exactly. So I want to talk about you, the man,
Okay. Okay.
the the
Okay.
guy behind the force of Lean Six Sigma. Um, what keeps you going? What is your personal ICANN? What keeps you, when you're faced with challenges, when you're faced with resistance from small businesses, when you're faced with, your own personal struggles, what is it that you draw to, or you draw from, that keeps you, moving and keeps you focused?
I'll say this. I would say I'm like that stubborn football coach where I'm running a play and it's not working, and I'm going to keep running the ball because I know that I have the greatest running back of all time behind me, right? So it's just like that. I've been there before. You
Mm-hmm.
get to a certain point in life where you're going to face challenges, and that's the season that you're in, but you have the confidence to know that you can get through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you get older, you're going to go through different trials and tribulations, but understanding that I've been here before and I have the confidence that I can get out of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's getting rid of the blinders, as you're saying, and really putting down a plan to allow myself to get out of whatever rut or tough situation that I'm in.
Are there any questions that you ask yourself when you are in those moments, or do you just draw back? Go back in your mind and you remember that I've been here before, and I just so. Are there any questions
Yeah,
that you ask
I,
yourself?
I first think of, okay, what did I do to get myself here? Right. As
Mm-hmm.
much as you don't want to reflect on the past, right? You have to, in order to be able to solve the problem, you have to ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself, is it something within me or my behavior that I can change to ensure that I'm moving in an upward trajectory, right? I
Mm-hmm.
look back on it. I look at the people that I've had conversations with. I look at the things that I've done wrong, and then
Mm-hmm.
I apply lessons learned from those to serve as a quote unquote plays in my playbook to ensure that if I'm in the same situation again, I can go back to that because I kept a mental note. So I just really just think that's what it really just comes down to.
Exactly. And I totally agree. Having, a play-by-play book. I often tell people to journal. Right,
Yes.
write down things that has happened in your life, things that the challenges you're faced with in your business, in your family, in your own, within your own self, your person, your own, personal goals, and challenges that you're dealing with. Because when you overcome one hurdle, it gives you wisdom to be able to, glean from that, so that you can apply it to the next situation. If you have not learned anything from your go through, you haven't learned anything at all. If you haven't,
Right.
been able to, if you just went through something and it was just, oh, I went through it, and without any solid, or without any, firm, what word do I want to use? Without any concrete, without any substance behind it, underneath it, then you sometimes we find ourselves going back in the same, cycle, because we haven't learned from that. And I want to talk about that from the standpoint as well in businesses. Have you seen, even though you come in with this great plan, you come in and,
Mhm.
like, I see where you are, I understand what's going on in your business, I understand, even if you're helping people in their marriage or whatever the case may be, I see where you are, and you give them this amazing plan, but instead of them seeing themselves, they keep going in the same cycle. Let's talk on that a little bit.
Like my goal at the end of the day is just to come in and tell them and give them my professional advice,
Mm, okay.
right? Like at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do,
Mhm.
and there's only so much that you can do within your control. For me, I focus on the facts, I focus on the processes, I focus on the data, and I present the case. At the end of the day, it's up to them whether they want to seek the change, because there's a lot of resistance to change.
Mhm.
And so I stick to the facts and I lay out a very good plan. And at the end of the day, they have to decide whether they want to go that direction or not. For me, it's never personal. It can't
Mhm.
ever be personal. But you're dealing with different perspectives, right? I may not necessarily be an SME in the catering business, but I'm an SME on processes and standard work and operational excellence. Those are the
Mhm.
things I focus on. But teach their own sometimes.
Exactly. And you just yeah, you're gonna find me referencing you hear a lot about, the word of God and stuff, because
Oh, no
that's just
worries.
where I get my foundation
Right there with.
from. And so one of the stories in the Bible, when Jesus sent out his disciples two by two, or two by three, however, three by three, however he sent them out, he told them, when they come to a home and they don't receive them and their message, just shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving. And keep, and don't allow what they are saying, the rejection or the resentment or the to cause you to feel as if they are rejecting you, if they're rejecting, yeah, you as a person. A lot of time they're rejecting what you are giving to them is because they don't have the capacity to receive the greatness. They don't have they haven't increased themselves in that area. And I can imagine that in small businesses as well, becoming, so what I want to say, tunnel,
Yeah.
and not having any more capacity or room. This is what has been working all these years, but you're seeing, as you talked about early, the like the smallest deficit, the
Yeah.
smallest, things that we're overlooking that can cause our business or our marriage or our purpose or who we are to, not produce the way we're looking for, not get the ROI what we're looking for.
Right.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on
No, I think all of that is really has really hit home for me, right?
that?
You know, and I think that what it comes back to is the personal impact of that, right? To let the barriers down before giving them a plan, you have to give them they have to be able to trust you. And
Mm-hmm.
so everything that I do when explaining to different businesses as to how they can improve their processes, I go over things step by step, asking them what type of reservations do they have about this change in a process,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but it's a lot easier said than done sometimes.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It really is. And so, this is my last question for you. What was the moment for you that you realized your I can in purpose, business, and family? What was that aha moment for you when you realized you gained this confidence and say, "This is my destiny"? In other words.
Honestly, when it came to it professionally, it was honestly when someone was teaching me about this process called a Kaizen. A Kaizen is a Lean Six Sigma process methodology where you implement certain practices to identify different cost savings. And for me, I'd always thought about minority owned businesses and why they fail. And if there was another advocate that could help them solve their
Mm-hmm.
problems. And I remember learning about this process and thinking about that. I just thinking, I could use this process if I study a little bit more to provide a service for other small minority owned businesses to help them become, self-sufficient. So this happened back in 2018, and I just think that ever since then, I've just had a huge passion for process improvements and helping other businesses stay afloat.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the conversation. It has been an enlightening one. I am really glad that I got a chance to have you on board on today and pick your brain a
Yes,
little bit. We're going to have to do a part two, so I could pick your brain a
definitely.
little bit more because there's a lot of
Absolutely.
more that I was hearing you say that I wanted to, kind of deep dive into. And so I'm gonna have to bring you on again. So
Definitely.
what are some takeaways? What are your final words that you want to leave with the listeners?
I would say if there's that business idea, do it. Just do it. If you have a vision for something, do it. But it's going to take a lot more than just having a business idea for you to stay afloat. Ask yourself the question, how is my product or service solving a key fundamental problem? And how can I monetize that to the best of my ability? I think that's what it comes down to. Have a plan, execute it, conquer.
Have a plan, execute it, and conquer.
Yes,
I love
really.
it.
Got to
That's
execute.
it.
Yes,
So
pretty much.
how can we stay in contact? How can
We
we
can stay.
connect?
Well, on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, um, at Geoff Long 33, but then there's also on social media, as well. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me at Jeffrey Long 1914 at gmail.com should you have any questions. And yeah, you can reach me on there and I'll be happy to help you in any way that I can.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for joining us on this day two or our second series of What's Your I Can. Remember, you have the power to rewrite your story, overcome limitations, and create a future that reflects your potential. Believe in yourself, embrace your I Can, and watch as your life unfolds in remarkable ways. Okay, so I will see you all later.
Take care.